Alright, welcome back to More Than Peaches Gaming. I'm your host, Mune, and today we are playing Neverwinter. And today I want to talk about a topic that is generally debated throughout the community, and I noticed this a while back. But what I'm referring to is the creation of power creep in Neverwinter, and how it has influenced players as well as discouraged some from actually doing new content. So, what am I talking about? Well, I am talking about one of the key things that actually happens when a new mod drops. Let's talk about a little bit of mod 13, okay, as well as mod 12. So, in mod 12, we had gotten equipment known as the primal equipment, okay? You could only get them by getting Seals of the Brave. And where did you get Seals of the Brave? Well, you had to play Tomb of the Nine Gods, or in mod 13, you had to play Cradle of the Death God. So those were the only two ways to get the Seals of the Brave. Alright. When mod 14 dropped, Seals of the Brave were instantly configured to come in your random dungeon queues. Okay, so you get 60 here, 100 there, 120 there. And when you kill enemies in the higher level dungeons, like the bosses, in particular, especially anything in the intermediate queue or the advanced queue, you also get additional Seals of the Brave. So thus making the equipment accessible pretty much to everyone. That means anybody who's under level, or that is level 70 or below, that doesn't really have a high gear score, can just go through the leveling queue and earn the seals pretty much all the time. And then buy this pretty much end game equipment. Which means everything in the collections, as you would see, all of the equipment that is basically not from Cholt, that means everything from like the River District, Storm King's Thunder, and before, has become pretty much obsolete. Because people can just grind out these things and get the equipment that they want. That means, why should I have to go and grind out moats in Elemental Evil to get an Elemental Artifact Weapon? Why should I even bother doing Demogorgon, or Master Demogorgon, to try to get the, oh god, what's it called? The Ichor for it, as well as the Twisted Ichor. Why should I grind out Storm King's Thunder for the ingredients for the weapons? Why should I try to do the armor? Which it was, oh, you could get it out of heroic encounters out in Bryn Shindar, or Lonelywood, or Cold Run. Why even do that now? Because there is absolutely no reason to do so at this point. Because it was kind of a horrible system to begin with. Alright? When mod 12 dropped, the relic armor was moved to not just be available and be able to be restored in the Bryn Shindar area, but it also could be purchased at the seal vendor, the same exact one that I am looking at right now. And again, they had the queue system that was a little bit different, but still you could earn the Seals of the Protector, which was the previous seal that you got for doing random queues, and you could use that to buy your relic armor. And a lot of people felt like that was an undermining of the entire system. Right now, the best equipment in the game, for armor at least, comes from Barovia. And the seals that you need are seals of the crown. Well, where do you get seals of the crown? Well, you get seals of the crown from completing the expert queue, but also by completing the hardest dungeon in the game, currently on mod 14, which is Ravenloft. Because of this, though, a lot of players are fearing that when we go to mod 15 and we are introduced to other dungeons or the like, that the seals of the crown will just become just like the seals of the Protector did when it came down to mod 12, or that they will become like seals of the Brave, like they did in mod 14. So this is a big concerning factor. It means basically that you can technically start out the game, level your butt all the way to level 70, which probably will only take you a few days, and then go and turn around and complete everything else. Like, go out and get that armor, and then you'll be queuing for higher level dungeons than what you should be. You don't have the experience under your belt. And here's the Seal of the Crown vendor that is located out in Barovia. You can obviously see the very difference in what these are. Like, I am wearing the cuirass, okay, for the armor, but I'm not wearing anything else from that set. So let's say I look at the boots, okay, something that is pretty much side by side. You can see what the difference is. It gives me additional 3,500 max HP, roughly, almost 200 power, almost 300 crit, and about 150 defense, okay, for 400 Seals of the Crown. Yes, I understand you have to run enough stuff to get them. I get that. But it's undermining players' hard work to basically move it to the other vendor once it's no longer considered like the hardest dungeon in the game. Me, I like hard content, yes. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I want hard content all the time. And I think that's the problem that a lot of players tend to have is, okay, I want the best gear in the game, but I'm going to take the easiest path to get it. And if that means basically waiting until the next mod, a lot of players are opting to do that. Or they feel like it's a cheat in the system to really do that. I know from experience that this is not how you're supposed to design a game. Okay? And the problem is that every mod has this problem. It is, let's go ahead and make the previous mod or previous two mods armor more accessible to everybody because nobody's really interested in that anymore because they all want the new big shiny thing. Well, not everybody wants a big new shiny thing, or they just want something that's gonna make it work. I'm out here at Dreadring right now, and yeah, they have shops that sell stuff that's related to equipment. Let's see, is it this guy? So yeah, he sells stuff, okay? So he sells armor, okay? So this is like pre-mod 9. I think it's like mod 6. And we're looking at equipment that when you look at it, it's like, oh my god, the stats on these are so great. Yeah, not from my class. It gives me stats that I don't need. And in comparison, it's not benefiting me one bit. And you look at every other gear in the game, almost everything's better than this stuff. And that's the problem with it, is that eventually you get the situations where nobody wants to run the content in those areas anymore because it's not worth their time. It's not worth the effort to go through this. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of Cryptic's developers seem to be forgetting, is that if the players don't see a worthwhile of anything in a zone, they will not play that zone. what they will do is they will just simply forget about it. They just won't do it. Okay? In zones like Dread Ring, yes, people come out here for refinement, but for me, refinement is easy to get. I don't necessarily need to come out to Dread Ring. I choose to come out to Dread Ring because I think it's quality content for the weekly. Do I come out here every day? No. Do I make a big deal about running content every week? No, not really. Some weeks I miss, that's fine. But we're talking about the seals that you get and the equipment that you get from each zone. If there was something a little bit more worthwhile in these zones, then I believe players would definitely come back to them. Okay? And zones like Bryn Shindar, as well as, Chult, the River District, people complete the campaign there, and then they leave. They don't care about anything else in that zone. They don't go back. Okay? I completed my River District a few months ago, and I have yet to go back to that zone. Simply because I don't want to go back to that zone. There's nothing there for me. And some players might disagree that there's definitely something there, but I don't see the worth of going there. Same thing with the variety of advanced Bryn Shindar areas. I don't go there. I think you saw me in a previous video. I was just standing out in the Sea of Moving Eyes. That was the first time I had been there in over a year. Actually going out further than the vendor. So it's been a long time since I've been in that area. Now if you ask me when was the last time I was out in Cold Run, longer. Much longer. I haven't even gone out there for any videos or anything like that. And that's the ridiculousness of it, is that some of these zones they don't draw anybody in. There's nobody there. And that's why certain other zones are flooded with people, which puts a stress on the servers, as well as the players that are playing in those areas, all vying for the same resources. Well, the guy just kind of exploded. Alright. And it gets ridiculous the more you add it up. The more and more that people play this game, the more they realize that the power creep is there. And yes, I understand there's this idea of trying to lure in new players, but there's also this steady progression that if you just give everybody the best stuff right from the get-go or make it easy to obtain, you run into the same problem as those that work really hard to get that same stuff a while ago. They're not happy because they think everything's too easy for new players. And without extensive experience in getting these things, they don't feel like it's fair. They feel like they've been cheated out of their own experience. I mean, think about it for a second. If you were to play this game and you could complete a campaign in, let's say, a week, just grind it out, would you? Most people would probably say yes. Yes, I would definitely do that. Now, if I could say, well, you could have not best in slot, but maybe second best in slot equipment in the matter of a week to make the rest of the game pretty much fly by, are you going to do it? Well, who wouldn't? And that's my complaint, is most players will jump on that bandwagon. They wouldn't even care. Because it allows them to become more powerful, and to a lot of people, being powerful is all that matters in this game. And if it's given to them one way or the other without much effort, then guess what? Those same players that love being strong and everything, they're not going to stay with the game. They're going to say, well, that was too easy. I don't see the challenge in it unless I do really end game content. There's no point. And then there are others that believe that it's too easy to have inexperienced players running content that they should know how to run. And what do you do when people don't know how to run the content? Could you imagine running something like, I don't know, Castle Never with somebody who's never ran the dungeon, is unfamiliar with their class, doesn't really get how other classes work, aside from their own, maybe? Would you really want to run content with them? Probably not. Okay? Now, I'm going to go out here on a limb and say, yes, everybody has their first few times in learning new content. That's always part of the game. Yes, I understand that. But consistently having people who think that they can automatically queue for something simply because their item level is high enough without the proper experience or boons is a problem. And that's the biggest concern that I have. Okay? And I've seen this happen way too many times where I will go into a dungeon, queue with people, alright? And they would be very inexperienced. They wouldn't even know how to run the dungeon at all. Castle Never, when you're walking through some of those hallways, you need to avoid certain things. It's not all about how much power you can do. It's about knowing how not to freaking die. And for a lot of these players, these new players that get these, they don't understand that. It's more about, oh, I just need to do big numbers and I'll win, and that's all I have to do. And that's the scary part about this game, is the developers are more or less encouraging it. Now, what can we do to change this? Well, how about this? Yes, you can have this stuff in the seal vendor, but no, don't always just allow it based off of running multiple runs. Okay? Set a cap. Okay? That's something super easy. Alright? The other thing that you could do is make it so that players can't queue for some of these dungeons until they have completed the proper campaigns. I know it sounds really ridiculous, but when you're playing those campaigns, they usually give you a quest that you need to go and run the dungeon in question. And I don't believe that if you have not completed the dungeon once, that you should be able to queue for the random queues. Okay? I believe that you should have to have ran it with people and have a separate queuing system for that. Okay? Don't take people from the random queue to supplement somebody who is trying to run it on their own for the first time. The other thing is, maybe you should instead quit making equipment every mod or two. Try to make it like the best in slot, and or having that equipment actually in the seal vendor. Okay, that's another option. Okay, so let's get rid of the seal vendor, or at least in the case of not have super powerful equipment in there. Okay, we had it in there for a lot of people who wanted some baseline equipment. We had this for a while, where it was just like alliance gear for seals of the I think elements. Okay, that was fine. Okay, because it was not best in slot, and it wasn't anything really great. A lot of people just used it for salvage. Why can't we go back to a system like that? I understand salvage is going away in mod 15, but having it there for, you can spend your seals to do this, okay? Kind of like the Seals of the Adventurer, where you can just get some enchantments, or AD, or equipment for your class. Yeah, that's fine. It's a random piece. But instead we have this stupid system, in my personal opinion, that it boggles the mind. It rewards players for basically doing almost nothing, okay, with higher gear scores. And I do mean, when I look at this equipment, I'm going to pull up my character because I do have some pieces of equipment. The primal stuff is item level 500. And if you're wearing all 4 pieces, plus the 2 weapons, you know, that's 500 times 4 for everything except for the weapons. Let's take a look, see what the weapons are. I believe it's Cholt. So the Cholt weapons are item level 455. I mean, if we do the quick math, we're getting like 2,910. So let's make sure. Yeah, 2,910. Okay, just off of that. Okay, mind you, you can also buy other things from that vendor. You can buy your rings. You can I don't think you can buy clothing, or maybe you can. It's been a while since I've actually looked at it. But if you can buy clothing, again, you're creating an artificial item level that doesn't really reflect a person's experience, because that's what the item level was supposed to be. It was supposed to be built off of what the person had and technically by experience. And I understand there are probably going to be a ton of comments that say, well, you can inflate your item level with other things like reinforcement kits and enchantments and your companions and all this other stuff by using actual money. Yeah, I get that. That is totally a thing. But looking back at this, though, let's take a look at the trader. Okay, so you can get all of the equipment of those 6 slots. You can get rings, which are worth 500 more. So right now we're at 3,900. But you can't really get your enchantments. Not from this, okay? You can exchange stuff with, what is it, Seals of the Protector? Yeah. So you can kind of get there if you really wanted to, but that's almost 4,000 item level, okay? You put on something like, I don't know, let's go over here to Seals of the Adventure. So you get these during the leveling queue. So if you get a rank 5 enchantment, it's an item level of 23. Okay. Now looking at the equipment, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9, 10. I didn't really remember how many slots those things had, those rings, but let me double check. So that's 10 right there. Let me make sure. Yeah, it's 10. Okay. So you have 10 slots. Okay. Alright. So 10 slots plus the amount of slots that you can have on your companion. Let's say you get a 3 ringed slot companion, and you put 3 more rings on. Okay. With double slots. So that is 16 slots. Okay, that's an extra 368 item level. And then the additional 3 rings is another 1,500. Oops. Alright, and then whatever you're putting in for rune stones. Let's say you start off with a rank. Let's say you're going for bonding, so for whatever reason. Okay, bonding. Okay, I'm just going to go for buyout because it's easier. Okay, so it's 32. Okay, so just off of starting off like that, and we're not talking about having any waste or artifacts or anything else. Okay, that means we're missing this piece of gear, we're missing this piece of gear, we're missing this one, and all of these. Your item level will be 5,800. Okay? So at first you might be thinking, well, that's nothing. A little item level, no big deal. Okay. Well, let's say they do get some artifacts in there. Okay? I'm going to go to collections because it's so much easier to do it this way. Oops, too far. Artifacts. So I'm just going to look at one artifact, okay? A basic artifact is an item level of 52. Okay? Which conflates your item level up a little bit more, push you over 6,000, almost 6,100. And if we look at a basic belt, we're looking at another item level of 360. As well as another piece, which would be like a necklace, which would be, depending on where you get it, it could be, let's see, pendants. These are all pretty powerful pendants. Let's see if we can find a crappier pendant. Okay, so I said 350. I know that's incorrect because of, or 360, which is a little bit more correct. Okay, and 360 for a belt. Okay, these are relatively easy to get. Okay, so you're looking at 6,800 plus the enchantments, which is going to be another like 70. Oops, I did that wrong. 6,802 plus 70. All right, so we're at 6,900 almost. All right. So that's just throwing stuff together. We don't even have any shirt or trousers on right now, or pants, or whatever you like to call them. Okay, 6,800. If for whatever reason we decided that we were not going to go with our enchantments that we have, which, if you remember correctly, we said it was. Let me double check what we said it was. 16 slots for a rank 5. Okay, which was actually a little bit more because it was 16 plus the 6 on the companion, so 22 in total, plus the additional 2. So we're looking at 24. Okay, if we decided that instead of doing it the way that we previously had done, which is 23 item level, just 552. I know we're way off our number, but I want to make sure that's right. Yeah. So check. Okay, so we're sitting at 368 just for the enchantments originally. So we're gonna go ahead and take that off. It's 6802 minus what? Oops, I did that wrong. 6802 minus the 368, and then we're gonna add whatever we get, which is what I wanted to go to, which was the trade bar merchant. Okay, again, money basically being printed, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna increase it by the amount of enchantments here, which are item level 32. Okay. Okay, so we get roughly about 7,200, maybe a little bit more. Math is a little bit off because I didn't count in the rune stones, but no big deal. Okay, so we're looking at a pretty good sitting point. Okay. So 7,200. Okay, let's take a look in our queues. What can we run for 7,200? Can we run anything? Let's go to our epic queues real quick. Almost. We can almost run Kessel's Retreat. Okay? Which is kind of a big deal, and we can run almost any epic dungeon based off of just doing that. Just getting our hands onto rank 7 enchantments. And the basic artifacts. Okay? Which, that means you could go into the auction house and be like, alright, I want to buy an artifact. Doesn't matter what it is. Hey, look, here's an artifact. I'll buy a catalog. I'll buy Imperial Restraint. Let's see, what else do we got in here? I thought I saw one. A Skull Staff and free movement. Okay? So you're not even spending 6k AD. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to do the random queues. So here's the random queue. You get 8k for doing the random queue. Okay? It's more than enough just to buy that. Okay? And you're going to have to run random queues. Let's see. How many times would you have to run the random queue to get all this? So, it gives you 60 a piece. So, let's add up what we need, okay, to make this happen. We need 750 times 2. That's 1,500 plus 600 plus 400 plus another 400. And last but not least, we need 400 for the boots. Okay? Then, we need to have enough rings, which we need a total of 5 rings, which is another 1,500. Alright? So that's 4,800 divided by the 60 times, or 60 that we get for each time we run it. We need to run the leveling queue roughly about 80 times. Okay? Now you might be thinking, man, that's going to take you forever to do that. Well, depends on how many times you run it in a day. Okay? If a run takes you, I'm going to say 10 minutes. Okay? And you run it for an hour a day. Okay? That means you run it 6 times. It's going to take you less than 2 weeks to reach getting all of this filled. Okay? On top of that, you will have gotten the AD for those days. Okay? So, like I said, 13, almost, let's say 14 days. Okay? And you got 8,000 a day. You get 112,000 AD. Okay? Minus the 6,000 that it took you to afford that, you still have 106,000. Okay? Based off of the information of, let's say, rank 7. And I'm just saying this based off of what people can do. Let's say I just wanted to get Azures, just for the hell of it. Okay? And we're going to go base it off of a median price. I'm going to go all the way to about the 400 mark, because that's pretty deep in, right? So the 400 mark, we're looking at about 1,500 a piece. Times, what we say, about 24 of these babies. That's 36,000. Okay? Plus our bondings. Our bondings are going to cost us 7,500 a piece. So, plus 7,500, plus 7,500, plus 7,500. Alright, so right now we have spent 58,500. Okay? Next we need to get companions. Because this is going to be a big thing. People are just going to be like, yeah, this is the best way to do it. Okay? So, we're not going to go for any regular companion. Let's take a look to see how much a epic mount is. Okay? Epic mounts are a little bit out of their price range. Thank goodness. Alright. So this is, if they didn't get any good drops whatsoever, if they didn't put any extra money in, they're not going to be able to get this. Okay? In the 2 weeks. Alright. Companions. Doesn't matter which ones you take. let's see how much the cheapest epic companion is. Companion's not pack. Okay. Cheapest epic companion is Energon, because it drops everywhere, and most likely in Dread Legion. So we're looking at this, and we could see that the companions probably are not going to be on the top of their list. They might decide to get some uncommon and companions, which are barely anything. So, again, I'm just going to point out the initial price, okay? Now, if they happen to join a guild, their item level will be convoluted. I'm going to, let's see, can I actually take off my boon? I cannot take it off. Okay. So, if I was not in a guild, my item level would be significantly less, but again, we were looking at about 7,200 and very much on the verge. If they join a guild, they are instantly in these epic queues in 2 weeks. Okay? So just a heads up, that is kind of a nightmare that you're going to have to deal with. As a player, I'm looking to see what the requirements to get into this queue. The intermediate queue is 9,000. Okay? And the reason why it's 9,000 is probably because of Castle Never. So let's take a look at the requirement for Castle Never. Castle Never's item level is only 8,400. So let's take a look at Merchant Prince's Folly, if it's in here. I don't think it is. 9,000. That's why. Merchant Prince's Folly is 9,000. So kind of keep that in mind when you're playing, is that realistically they can make about, what did I say, 112,000 in the 2 weeks. They could earn enough seals to buy this equipment, and they would only have to spend 5,800 to get what they want off the auction house. Okay? That's kind of crazy. Again, this is also insinuating that they go through all the processes to have access to the auction house. I know that some people have difficulties messing with the auction house when they first start out, but you can literally get all of that stuff in order really quick. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about this content. And I hopefully the developers are actually watching this video and they realize how dumb of a system this is. And I understand some people are like, oh, well, it's to outfit my alts. Well, that's fine, except for when people are playing with their alts and try to run the same content that they would normally do with their mains, and it not working out. Okay? So, just a heads up, that is what it is. And we're not even counting any boons other than maybe some guild boons. Again, I don't remember how much they actually give per level. I can look it up real quick, but I don't think it's that much. Let's take a look, see what it actually is. So, let's take a quick look. I'm just looking at the official / unofficial forum, or Reddit, sorry. Let's see, what do we got here? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. If you have max boons, joining a guild can actually raise your item level 2,000. Guess what? You're now in the epic queue now. Okay? Without ever running any of the campaign stuff. Okay? So it's 500 per maxed boon. So if somebody joined my guild and was like 7,000, they could get into the epic queue pretty much immediately. Alright? And that's with one companion. Doesn't matter what the rank is. Like 3 bonding runestones that are rank 7. 3 of those rings with rank 7 enchantments. Rank 7 enchantments on all of their gear with primal gear. Green artifacts. and all of their artifact equipment is green, and without wearing any shirt or pants. So that says a lot, okay? That means you could be running into these types of people while running something like Merchant Prince's Folly, Castle Never, the Master Dungeons. So kind of keep that in mind when you're really looking at this. I think that this is a major, and I do mean a major design flaw. And not because I don't want to help out lower geared scored people. It's because sometimes those lower geared scored people think that they should all get together and then run this content, not with anybody really all that much higher, okay? And then they fail to actually complete, even though that the requirement is simply being that item level. Item level aside, these players also don't have the experience to run this content, okay? Sometimes it takes somebody to take the lead and figure out mechanics and everything like that, or explain them to them. But the vast majority of players in this game do play this game at a very solo-like environment when they first start out because of the way that it's designed. So, enough about the item level, enough about the cost. I think that this needs to change, okay? Or at least change in a way that will benefit everybody who's playing. Because honestly, I don't like the idea of running dungeons with somebody who is inadequately prepared for it, especially if it's a class that we really need to be there. Okay? I can't count how many times I've ran something when I was lower item level where we needed people in the epic dungeons to really be on their game and really be the best that they could be. And then them simply not being able to do so. And I recall running into players in Mod 9 that would run into the situation that the hardest dungeon in Mod 9 was Castle Never. Okay? And they would scroll because people were too busy not really caring about experiencing the game. Same thing happened in every other dungeon throughout this game. And I really want the players not to be put in the situation with the high expectations that they have to be best in the slot or close to run content. Because as it sits, somebody who's wearing primal gear is pretty goddamn good geared out. Even me who's been playing this game off and on for 2 years, I'm still wearing primal gear. Okay? As a 16K. There's nothing wrong with wearing the primal gear. It's that it's really powerful. Okay? And I don't want to cut off people who think that they need really powerful gear, but they're skipping like so much of the game because they're worried about getting their gear score up. I have talked to players that haven't been through half of the zones because they don't care about them. What they care about is getting into end game content. They don't care about the other zones. They don't care about going to Ebon Downs and participating in the dragon hunts. They don't care about the campaigns in those areas. And could you imagine if somebody was just like, well, okay, this matters, this matters, this matters, this matters, this doesn't, this doesn't. This kind of does, this doesn't, maybe. No. 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 Well, maybe a little bit because I have to complete some stuff. But no. 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 Maybe. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. And then just, yeah. So how many no's did I just say there? We said like no here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, 17 zones. Out of, how many are there here? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So there are 27 zones in this game, technically. Okay? I say technically because when you start getting to Icewind Dale, you have a bigger list. So, 17. Okay? Even if we counted in these as individual zones, so we said 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So you're looking at less than half would be considered even relevant to those players. And if they're not going for boons, oh god, if they just use like something like a buyout campaign or something like that, that number gets significantly less, considerably smaller. Then that makes it so that there's like what, 3 to 5 zones that actually matter, possibly 9. Okay, depending on how you want to work stuff, which is really sad. You know, people are missing out on the game. At that point, what's the point of even having the other zones if nobody's going to use them, right? That's not how you use assets in a game. Because if it's just optional and nobody's going to go there, why have it? Okay? This is a major underlying problem with the game, and I've been rambling about this for a while, but they need to really do something about this, okay? It wasn't so much of an issue back in Mod 9 when people were getting kind of accustomed to it on console, but I think this has been an underlying problem for a while on PC and on Xbox, okay? Hereas when Mod 10.5 came out, we were like, oh, it's been a few months since we played. And even Mod 10. Mod 10 dropped us the new armor. We were like, oh, cool, new armor. It was better than the Alliance stuff that we had. Or the purple gear that we were getting from, like, the Master Dungeons. So, we were ecstatic. We were like, oh yeah, cool armor. But we had to keep it charged, so we saw the negative parts of it. So we're like, to be powerful, there need to be sacrifices. Okay? Then 10.5, we got the relic armor, or not the relic armor, the relic weapons. Again, with kind of a similar system. It took us a long time to make them, because that's how we had to get them. And by playing the content. When Mod 11 came out, we got new weapons. And people were like, well, we just had weapons like a few months ago. We can't keep our weapons. What the hell? Mod 12 gave us new armor. And people were like, oh yeah, cool, new armor. And new weapons. Didn't we just get new weapons last mod? Yeah. But these ones are better. Okay. And then we get to Mod 13. Hey, look. New dungeon. Okay. Now you can upgrade your armor. Okay. Kind of cool. You only have to upgrade it once. Same thing with your weapons. Cool. But then Mod 14 dropped and said, hey, guess what? New armor, new weapons. And people were scratching their heads saying, well, I just went through all the trouble of getting new weapons in Mod 12. Same thing with armor. And then upgrading those said weapons and armor by grinding the hell out of freaking the hardest dungeon in the game for both of those things. And now you're telling me that there's other new stuff? When does it end? When does it get to the point where the strongest weapons and armor actually stay relevant for longer than like 3 months? Oh wait, did I just say that it took you? It was only relevant for 3 months? Oh wait, I forgot to mention that it's relevant for 3 months, but you're going to be taking probably a month or two to get the goddamn thing. And then, hey, you've had it in your inventory for a month and you've been wearing it? Great. Next mod drops. hey, look, it's available in the vendor. What was the point of that? Other than forcing your players to do this, okay? I understand. You want them to play the new content. Yeah, you give them this great reward. Hey, instead of doing that, maybe you should actually give them something that you can't get from the frickin' seal vendor the next mod or two. Because that's what's pissing off a lot of players, okay? Because they feel like they're just being kicked in the face for all their hard work, okay? Even I feel it a little bit, okay? Because I ran through Tomb of the Nine Gods trying to get my seals. And then I got my primal gear that way. Now, I'm being basically told that, hey, you can go over to the seal vendor and get the exact same shit by running so much easier stuff. How's that fair to your in-game players? It's not. How's that fair to your new game players? It's not. How's that fair to anybody in the game? It's not. Unless, and I say this very casually, unless people have been trying to go through the dungeon and failing. Okay? In which case, shouldn't you give them something else? I don't know. Like, maybe a different type of currency for attempting the dungeon so they can get the gear after so many attempts. It could be the same currency if it was like the seals of, in this case, the Brave, but you are limited on how many you can actually get through that system, or how very little that you get. So you run through it and be like, oh yeah, I tried it, and every time I try to get like 5 seals. Okay, great. But at the same time, I understand that they don't do this for obvious reasons. People would walk in, they would fight the first group of enemies, and then they would like leave. And they would get rewarded with the 5 seals. So, or they would just walk in and then leave. Get 5 seals. It would be really quick. So, I understand why they don't do that, but at the same time, rewarding them like this is not really all that fair to hardworking players. Okay? And that's really what this comes down to. You want to have your game last a long time? Create a system where they actually have to play the damn game. Okay? And I don't mean a very minimal amount. And I understand a lot of players are busy with other things and they can't be bothered. But some of them, they're very busy with their lives. They work 12 plus hours a day. And then when they get home, they turn on the game and then they see this shit. Even though that they've worked really, really hard to get where they're at. Seeing other players basically having this giant catch up when they don't think that they've actually earned it. Okay? That's why me and many other players are upset. Okay? So, change your crap. Look at it at least. Figure out what system works best for future mods. I know the damage has already been done for our current mods. Let's see what we can do in the future to make it better. Alright. Well, I feel like I've been rambling way too long on this. It's probably been, what, half an hour? Probably more. Thank you again, everybody who's kind of stuck with it until the end of this video. And again, thank you everybody who likes and subscribes to me or even follows me. It's really awesome. And this has been Moonay playing Neverwinter on PlayStation 4.